Now, this week we brought you a rare inside look at the operations centre of our cybersecurity agency, the Australian Signals Directorate. Cybersecurity Centre Chief Abigail Bradshaw is hosting her American counterpart, Brandon Wales, for critical talks. The US Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency boss identified what's of greatest concern in his space.
I think critical infrastructure is nearly everything that enables our modern way of life, from our telecommunication networks that allow us to communicate, the energy infrastructure that moves our economy, the transportation hubs, ports, rail, aviation, hospitals, water facilities, and I think we have seen targeting of nearly all of that critical infrastructure from either nation states or criminal organizations.
Joining me live now is CyberCX Executive Director of Cyber Intelligence, Katherine Mansted. Thanks for your time. A good thing to see our intelligence agencies and cybersecurity defence organisations meeting with their US counterparts.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we can overstate the value and the uniqueness of the intelligence cooperation between Australia and the US and the UK and others. That is something that is unprecedented in human history, and it's something that our adversaries just simply don't have.
So they don't have it. Does it give us then, it makes sense to say it gives us an advantage, but those adversaries are so multifaceted, you need that cooperation just to keep the balance, don't you?
Yeah, we need to be light on our feet. And I think one of the things that Abigail Bradshaw made a point of saying in that package as well is that often we will have different pieces of the puzzle sitting in different places. So Australia recently outed Alexander Ermakov, one of the Russian hackers behind the Medibank hack that really affected Australians. And she said that we had bits of that puzzle piece, but it was with collaboration and cooperation and intelligence sharing with partners, including the US, that we're able to bring that man into, I was going to say to justice. Of course, there's a certain justice with sanctions. He's not in jail, but we're able to take that investigation.
When you look at the structure here, and I just want to give our viewers a sense of how the intelligence agency sits alongside the cybersecurity centre, can you explain it in simple terms, what we're talking about? The two people that we saw on that screen before, Abigail Bradshaw and Brandon Wales, they're the cybersecurity people, but they work in conjunction with the intelligence agencies.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you could think of it like this. The intelligence agencies are working behind the scenes. They're the ones with the sensitive and the secret sources and methods, catching other people's secrets, protecting Australia, or in the US's sense, US's secrets. What we have with Abigail Bradshaw and Brandon Wales is the shop front to industry and the rest of the community. And that tells us something really interesting about the cyber challenge. This isn't something that just happens government on government or within the cloistered halls of power in Canberra. The cyber challenge is something that is playing out across the private sector, critical infrastructure, in our phones and in our pockets as everyday citizens. So we need that front-facing informational role because we won't be cyber secure if it just stays in government. It has to be a whole of society effort.
There's certain tips that I know business that the Abigail Bradshaw wants to send to business, and one of the things is to embed security at the outset. So for software developers, chip manufacturers, to bake in the cybersecurity at the point of manufacture. How are organisations listening to that?
Look, I think it's absolutely the right thing that we need to be doing. The challenge is it's a bit of a collective action problem, right? Because a lot of the big muscle movements in building this stuff, in the software, in the hardware that underpins our digital economy, is often produced by just a couple of big players out there. And every single consumer, even big multinational organisations that are consuming that kit, they can't have a huge amount of influence on making sure that it's secure, and certainly they can't be making it as secure as it could be if they're doing that down the track after the fact. So it's really encouraging to see a push to say, when you are building this stuff, you must make it secure from the beginning, and hopefully we'll see a bit of regulatory heft come behind that to solve that collective action problem.
That'd be a good idea. And just for our viewers watching, you mentioned the mobile phone. One bit of advice that I've been given several times is make sure you turn off your phone at least once a day at night for a period of time. For some reason, that's supposed to be a measure that might assist.
It's a measure. I think probably you've got that advice because you're a journo and you work in the corridors of power in Canberra. That type of measure can be really effective against some really advanced kind of nation-state spyware. For the everyday punter, whose threat model might be a bit different, there are some basic things to do, like having multi-factor authentication on all of your accounts, updating software whenever you get a prompt from Apple or whoever your provider is. Yeah, sure, turning it off and on again can protect against some really advanced, interesting stuff, but might not be necessary for everyone.
Katherine Mansted from CyberCX, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.